Quiero bailar salsa. Okay, we're gonna get it on you, Major. Okay, we're live there, live here, and obviously on the radio. All right, 10 seconds. We want to get right into it. You want to get your mic closer? When it gets in.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right. Buenas tardes. Happy Friday. Tuesday, huh? Friday, Tuesday. You know, it's Friday for me every single day because I make the best of it. It's like a weekend for me already. I've done so much this weekend. I feel like I'm still on a weekend. Feliz martes, the happy Tuesday. Of course, it is 1 minute after the hour. It's 7 p.m. And of course, we have some amazing guests today. One is a paid show. And I know Juan has a disclaimer on that end.
Yeah.
You were saying?
No, just being a paid show, there's no announcements, of course.
And of course, we have someone that flew in all the way from Florida. Of course, she's a former East Chicagoan. So shout out to our East Chicagoans and my Boricuas, my family, my friends from Puerto Rico, the Puerto Ricans that are also representing well out in other states. So we are going to go right into it. The views expressed by the host and the callers of this show are not necessarily the views of WLTH Radio Management, owners, sponsors, and advertisers.
And let me also say this here, that
yes,
Nuestra Comunidad Northwest Indiana does not endorse or support any candidate for elected and or appointed office. Thank you.
And it is a paid show for our elected official, our candidate, friend, brother, which is Major Jerry Williams. Major, felicidades. Congratulations for you to stepping up and say, I'm going to do this. And I hear nothing but great things that you've been like really doing some major footwork now going over a year and a half.
About 20 months at this right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
We've been at it a while.
Yeah, that's a lot of workout, all that walking. Juanita, I hope you have some questions because, you know, politics is right up your alley. So you may want to take over in some of these questions, which I don't mind today. You know, politics isn't my strongest or best that I want to talk about, but I don't mind talking about you.
Well, politics ain't my strongest suit either. So
we got something in common here.
Public
safety, period. Yeah, public, private, absolutely. Wherever. I'm all about that. So a little bit about you, Major. I have interviewed you in the past as a state police, as Major for the state of Indiana police, the state police, and also as a community leader. And some may not know, but I'm just going to throw this out there as a human being who Jerry has been. And I've put this out there publicly that when you are, and I'm not saying who root for him, no, we're going to stay neutral here, people. And please don't get it twisted. Don't misquote me. But I will say this as a human being, as you are, as my friend and brother in Christ, that whenever you're looking at a candidate that's running for office, go back 10 years. You'd be surprised what some candidates have done. And then some are just now all of a sudden everywhere. Just saying, just keep that in mind. So Juan, I'm going to kick it off with asking Major, just tell a little bit of, voy a hablar en español también porque este es un candidato que está corriendo para el condado de Lake, el departamento de sheriff. Si es que él también es Major o es general del departamento de policía del estado, de la policía estatal. Es que esta es una gran persona que ha sido líder en la comunidad. Es más, nacionalmente. You've been a community leader and you've been involved nationwide. Have you not?
I have. I've been very fortunate throughout my travels here in the law enforcement community to travel, witness, learn from other agencies, participate in different platforms from as local as the Illinois State Police, Michigan State Police, Ohio Highway Patrol, and an opportunity through the Justice Department to travel and visit with other communities across the country on best practices and as it pertains to law enforcement, and that is a large platform, and it also includes not only what we see in law enforcement as far as the police officers on the ground, but these some of these discussions were at a level where it also included corrections divisions and correction officers. It also included conversations with defense attorneys and defense bars and what works, what doesn't work. How do we best protect the folks that we on the law enforcement side come in contact with individuals? So it's some tremendous learning experiences and some exposures over the years. Absolutely.
So, fun fact and a secret that y'all didn't know, neither did I. Did you know he was just a block away from where I grew up on Maryland Street? Did you know that, Juanito?
Yeah, right.
Just north. No, I'm sorry, south.
South.
South of you. Yeah,
I was between 5th and 6th in Maryland, and you were
7th
in Maryland.
Yeah.
How about that? You know, were you already in a cop car? 70s and 80s, or
no?
When did you start driving?
I didn't become a trooper until 93. So this is my 32nd year.
You didn't become a trooper till 93. So were you on Maryland in 93?
I was.
That was you.
So
I was still in Gary in 93 until September.
My police car was parked there from 93 through 99.
Then I do remember seeing that car.
Yeah.
How about that? Small fun fact, just in case y'all didn't know. But one thing that I admire about you, and I want you to tell the public, and this is your selling point, this is your time to shine, and you know you're paying for this program, and we're not here as WLTH or as Nuestra that is endorsing this wonderful individual. I admire that you have, as a family man, your children are following your footsteps. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty fortunate. I got 7 kids, 4 boys and 3 girls. And of my 4 boys, 3 of them are in law enforcement. And so 2 of them have identical twins. I only count them as 1. They count themselves as 2.
Well, they came out at different times, right?
And so they're both troopers down in Indianapolis. And my oldest son is actually the one of the local police chiefs here in the county in the little town of New Chicago. So yeah, I'm proud of all of them, and the fact that they were watching me when I didn't know they were watching me. As far as
how about that?
This environment and going out and wanting to be servants in the community. So I'm very proud of that. Technically, one of my daughters actually graduated from the police academy too, but that was just only in her journey to finish up her master's degree.
Wow. That says a lot. And the reason why I bring this up is because as voters, we have to see the person, not the party, but as a person, who they are and what they've done, what they stand for. Those are qualities, their character, the characteristics of them as being a leader or their position that they've been working, why they do what they do. This is something you all need to look at. Go ahead, Juanito, you got any questions so far?
First question is, have you ever run for office before?
I have not.
So
This is the first time of running for any elected office whatsoever. I realize that the position or that seat is an elected position, so it requires you to navigate the political waters to achieve that goal. So thus is what puts us here in this platform. I've been fortunate throughout my career that politics really never came into play. I worked out of Indianapolis, out of our headquarters, and the majority of the staff I worked with sat on the Republican side of the table, and so we politics really never came into play. It was just all about doing what was right and something bigger than yourself. As we sat around the table to try and make best decisions for our agency as well as the
so
state.
Let me ask you this then. What are the major duties of the Lake County Sheriff?
Major
duties and responsibilities for that position that you're running for. What
Right.
are those major duties and responsibilities?
Well, we probably couldn't take 30 minutes to talk about that, but then holistically, the sheriff is pretty much, in my opinion, and I think most folks would agree, your sheriff is pretty much that chief law enforcement officer. You know, you could probably argue the prosecutor as well in that same realm. But the responsibilities are fairly vast. I mean, that the sheriff is responsible not only for the things we can see as far as patrol capacities for his police officers or his or her police officers, et cetera, et cetera. But probably some of the other big components of what they do is really the jail, warrant services, civil services, et cetera, et cetera. So those are what people mostly see. And then obviously you have an administrative component to that as well too. But most sheriffs would tell you that the jail is a major component of what they do and what they hold in that position, and as well as, like I say, the civil component of that as well too. So, and then obviously in this case you have a full service police department, whereas some sheriff's agencies are sometimes limited to courts and jails. Versus here, it's a full service police department. So they're doing everything within the gamut of law enforcement, from investigations, patrol, and the likes. They're doing a full show in that respect. But good question.
I know you mentioned something in the beginning, that's public safety. Estoy preguntándole aquí al candidato lo que es la seguridad pública, que para él es importante, para mí, para todos nosotros debe de ser importante. You mentioned public safety in your experience and your leadership. What do you see yourself doing as the new sheriff in town for Lake County, different than what's already been done, whether it is the past 5 years or past 10 years? If anything, what do you see yourself doing different that could possibly be something greater and better than what you've seen?
Good question. Let me try and frame this and answer it for you like this here. Is that what I don't try and do is compare myself to others, because I think I bring a unique set of skills, just as the current sheriff or any of the previous sheriffs did. I bring a unique set of skills that my walk in this career in law enforcement came by way, of course, of the state police. Now, it's taken me through several different avenues, all the way to include, like I said, working with other agencies across the country, because as a state police agency, one of the things that doesn't happen often is that most agencies, state police agencies or highway patrol agencies, will tell you that they don't like so much to get too involved in local matters. They're a little bit reluctant to do that because they don't want to get twisted into the political aspects of it, etc. This was a little bit different under the last 12 years and this administration, of the previous administration, because Governor Holcomb and Superintendent Doug Carter of the state police at the time kind of stretched those bounds a little bit. And we found ourselves being subject matter experts to other agencies across the country that says, hey, state police, Indiana, how did you go in and help out the city of Gary? How did you go in and do this in Elkhart or South Bend or wherever that might be? And because we kept stretching those bounds and engaging in these communities at a local level, we found ourselves kind of being looked at from the other agencies of saying, tell me how you did that. Michigan State Police, for example, Illinois State Police did the exact same thing. Everybody watched us in these processes and they said, hey, tell us how you guys did this. And so we went over to the Illinois State Police and we met with the Illinois State Police and Harvey, in this case, Harvey Police Department, to give them, hey, lessons learned. These are some of the things that we learned in these processes. These are some do's and don'ts. And most of it, the lessons learned really drove down to communication and making sure all stakeholders within that community. And when I'm talking about that community, I'm not only the community, but I'm talking about mayors, city council, making sure that all of those entities or stakeholders are all on the same sheet of music. And that's something that we learned from, and we certainly, if we were doing it over again, we'd make sure we were very intentional about making sure all of those parties were at the table and that everybody was in the same accordance going forward in those processes. So we took that to other communities like we did with like the Illinois State Police and Harvey, Illinois Police Department. There was no need for them to have to do the same thing or make the same mistakes or what have you that we did. Hey, these are some lessons learned. Here's something for your attorneys to look at. Here's how you framework this, etc.
So you were a past major of the Indiana State Police.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question then. With that being the case, and the superintendent of the Indiana State Police being the highest position within the Indiana State Police, what comes after major, and in terms of moving up to the final position being superintendent. So what position comes after major? Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what are
Good
the positions that lead up to where you were at to superintendent? What are those positions?
Very good question. So let me see. The best way to describe it is that most police agencies, and I think would agree, are semi-military, right? We use a military structure of rank, etc. We're no different. So our superintendent and our superintendent is called superintendent of the state police. In other states, the superintendent might be a whole what we call the rank of full bird colonel. Ours just happened to be a title of a superintendent, and then the number 2 person in our agency is the colonel. Mm-hmm. So you had the superintendent, the colonel, lieutenant colonels, and then you have majors.
Okay, major, lieutenant colonel, and then superintendent. Is that what you just
said?
Superintendent,
colonel.
You're saying it backwards. Okay. You said superintendent, colonel, lieutenant colonel,
and majors.
Yes, sir. Only other.
And then what made us yet a little bit more unique in our previous 12-year administration is that we ran under a chief of staff model, which means that so we had the superintendent and the colonel, who was the chief of staff, and then the 4 or 5 of us, of me, majors, made up the staff itself. So I was my official title over those 12 years was the assistant chief of staff for logistics, and my rank happened to be major in that respect.
So let me ask you this then. So I think everyone knows that you're one of several candidates running for Lake County Sheriff in Lake County, Indiana. Let's just say that all the other candidates are either present or former law enforcement officers. So what would you say, and let's say no one, including yourself, has any other qualifications than in the positions that they were in law enforcement. What sets you apart from the other candidates in what you did in the Indiana State Police? And were you a former
I'm still
chief or something like that?
So
he's still with the state.
I'm still with the state police, and my rank is still major.
What sets you apart from the other candidates? If we're just talking law enforcement itself.
Well, the uniqueness about this campaign itself is that all 5 candidates, including myself, are either current or recently retired law enforcement. So I think that's going to be unique in this campaign in and of itself, because I know that sometimes that's always not the case. So that's the first unique thing about this, is that everybody is. The next thing is that everybody has made it been very intentional about speaking about their own platform and not having the need to compare themselves to others. My walk is different than the next person's walk and the next person's walk, and vice versa. Everybody has their own perspective and their own walk throughout this lane. Mine is different because I come from the state police. And so, for example, I was in charge of our logistics, chief of staff for our logistics section. Well, that's all things that we do with the state police. Is what makes us function. Cars, guns, helicopters, real estate, buildings, construction, all of that stuff falls under that logistics umbrella, to the tune of over $400 million in daily assets. Well, it would be unfair for the other candidates to be compared to that, because that's just happens to be the arena that I came from with that type of a budget in that respect. So that wouldn't be a fair comparison to anybody else. It just happens to be the lane that I came from. My walk takes me through what the difference is. My walk takes me through other communities throughout not only the state of Indiana, but throughout the country to several other platforms and other police departments. But it just happens to be because that's the way the state police was ran at the time, and I would say still now under the new administration still is. You practice your skill set. And then you try and become, as best you can, subject matter experts in it. And then you leverage that by helping other agencies. As we gain from them, they gain from us as well. So I don't necessarily have not, even in my 20 months in this year, had to compare myself to the other candidates. I think everybody is the candidate they are in their own rights. My goal is to convince the voters that my platform and my personality and me as a person, as a Christian, is going to do right by their vote, and that I'll hold their confidence and make sure that I do right by that whole process itself. My law enforcement trails takes me, I think where you were going was to here in Gary. This was coming back home for me. Before that, spending those 12 years here on our executive staff out in Annapolis. I was the district commander for this part of the state, which is the low post. And so what that did for me is that I was the commander of not just one county, but 7 counties.
Okay.
Again, that's just because it just makes me unique in those respects. So my job as the commander for this part of the state was to provide resources, public safety resources, whether I'm in Lake County or the most rural environments of Stark and Pulaski County. My responsibility is to meet each of those communities collectively and individually where they at, to make sure that we leverage as much as we can resource-wise from the state police perspective to give those communities what they need. And the more rural environment is, the more we do, because the more rural communities, the less resources they have. So that's what we're there to do.
You don't mind if we open up the mics for questions, Major?
No, go right
okay.
ahead.
Go ahead, caller. You are on the air. Hello. Go ahead, Vic.
Hello.
Hi
Go
there.
ahead.
How are you?
Yeah, I was just checking off my radio. Yeah, congratulations, sir, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
A couple questions because of political times. Could you describe what probable cause really means and what what it is when you profile people? Is it profiling people not a condition where they're already guilty and you're just assuming they're guilty? And very well, I think it's relation. That's okay. The difference, why is profiling legal and probable cause? How absolute does that have to be to be factual? I'll listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that question for you. So profiling, in the instance that I'm assuming you're referring to, should never be allowed, and there's no place for it. We should be making contact with individuals based on those facts that bring you in contact with them from a law enforcement perspective. So anything less than that shouldn't be taking place in the first place, in my opinion.
Great. And racial profiling, for the record, we want to make sure that we are conscious of his time. It is his paid time. I want to make sure that he puts all his points that he needs to. Great question, Vic. But racial profiling has been in existence for decades. Hammond, St. John, doesn't matter what administration is. I know that the previous show was being talked about, but this is not. If you have any questions for Major, please do so. 219-885-1371. Estamos aquí con una persona, para mí, como persona, es grandiosa. Durante 3 décadas de carrera en la lucha contra el crimen, el mayor Williams se ha forjado una sólida reputación de integridad y de mantener altas expectativas. Entre sus logros se incluyen un legado de integridad desde el 1993 hasta el presente. Ha sido un oficial de policía de la ciudad de aquí, del condado, perdón, no del condado, sino del estado. Así es que él valora muchas cosas aparte de su integridad. Al igual, la experiencia que trae él aquí es sumamente extensa. I'm saying that his experience is very extensive, which, as you say, that there's really no comparison. Everybody has their own thing, their own background, their own experiences. And you seem to, and it's not good to compare, according to the Bible, to have the most experience, not just working for one state, but working with several states and several counties, not just one county, as you just previously mentioned, right? So let me ask you as the Lake County Sheriff or the candidate, why should I vote for you? ¿Por qué debemos de votar por este señor?
Good question. So I can't really answer that question first, as far as what the other candidates have been exposed to.
No, that's fine.
I'd imagine maybe some of them have. I don't know that. I can tell you that the reason why I'm here because this is my community. I love it. I never left it. I grew up right here on the east side of Gary, just a few minutes away from where we sit here now. And it means that much to me. Over the last 17, 18 years of my now 30, just on the close of 32-year career, I had opportunities throughout my elevation through the state police to leave and move to Indianapolis, shorten my commute, for example, etc. It was a very conscious decision for me to stay, and that goes to my commitment to this community, to my family, and to my friends to stay connected to the community. Even when I left Gary and moved to Crown Point, it was important for me to stay connected. When I started to travel and get advancements in the state police, and I worked in everything from as a young sergeant, writing grants to writing specifications for different processes throughout the state police to human resources and building selection processes for hiring police officers, etc., to working with Department of Corrections. I was tasked with working with them for a year and a half to help them develop training programs for a now police component of the Department of Correction, and being tasked to go work with them on those projects. And then fast forwarding from there, working in our internal investigation section for 3 or 4 years, doing internal investigations, again, traveling throughout the state for those. And then my career brought me back home here as the district commander. And so I came back home here as the district commander, and I did that for just shy of 4 years before now former Vice President Pence and former Superintendent Doug Carter invited me down to our executive staff, where I held that position of Assistant Chief of Staff for Logistics for 12 years up until the first of this year. And under this administration, that has also been I've been very fortunate to stay kind of in those processes and those policymaker positions. And so now I'm in charge of our Capitol Police section of the state police, which is 58, 60 officers when we had full staff, etc. And those duties are vast as well. You know, those are responsibilities that cover everything from the governor's mansions to all of our state buildings and legislative security, doing sessions, all of those types of things come into play. So that group stays fairly busy, and I'm just fortunate and blessed to work with such good people throughout my career, and that has helped advance me throughout this process. I didn't get here by happenstance. I got here, I like to think, because I worked hard and made sure that I demonstrated that I could be trusted and I had integrity, and that when I was set out to given a task to do something throughout my career, I was going to do that task to the fullest of my ability, even when nobody else was watching.
In the interest of time, if we can just go 1, 2, 3. If I am successful in being elected next Lake County Sheriff, these are my top 3 priorities, and then just go 1,